Hey guys, Level Cap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. PUBG's 22nd update finally adds a proper ranking system to the game. It'll have 8 total ranks. Your initial rank will be determined after playing 10 provisional matches. After that, you will earn or lose rank points based on your in-game performance. This is really the first true progression system PUBG has implemented. The Sanox Event Pass included a system similar to Fortnite's Battle Pass, in which you played the game to level up or unlock new tiered rewards. But there was a ton of backlash for it being a limited time paid item that required a huge amount of time commitment to get anything worthwhile out of it. Update 22 also included yet another laundry list of bug fixes and quality of life improvements. Most of the bug fixes are related to player animations. Thankfully, map selection is now back. Individual map selection was implemented a few months ago, but it caused huge matchmaking delays in regions with low player counts. The devs replaced it with a less granular map pool selection system that divided matchmaking between the game's 2 large maps and Sanhok. The new system has a quick join option that places players in the first available game. Hopefully that should alleviate matchmaking issues. The developers have also disabled manual region selection. PUBG will now automatically determine the best server region for players based on their location. When matchmaking as a group, the game will pick the best region for everyone. Players have been demanding a region lock ever since the game launched in China. Cheating has been a huge problem in China, and many players use VPNs to matchmake outside of their region, so it's not clear if the new region system will actually have a meaningful impact. A new radial menu system for grenade and healing item selection was added to the update. It works similarly to the emote selection system, giving players quick access to their available items without having to open the inventory. Finally, players can now trade up skins to higher tiers. Trading up requires 10 items of the same tier. The maximum tier that can be traded up to is the blue or rare tier. Each trade up requires the use of battle points, and the amount depends on the tier of item being traded up to. A new episode of Battlefield 5 Dev Talks was released this week by DICE. In it, they reflected on the lessons they've learned following the game's recent open beta. Balancing the attrition system is a top priority for them. In the final game, certain weapons will spawn with more ammo and higher reserve ammo capacity. As for supply stations, they will no longer be pre-built aside from the ones back in your deployment. Players will now have to build them. DICE are saying this will provide more opportunities to score points and adds more to the gameplay flow aside from spawning and running towards the enemies. Really though, it just sounds like a bit more busy work. Soldier visibility was a bit of a problem in both Battlefield 5's alpha and beta phases. To fix this, DICE are implementing a distance haze effect that will cause players to pop out more against the background. The video that DICE released of the haze effect looks pretty promising. Dying and respawning in Battlefield 5 will be a quicker experience at launch, bleeding out will take less time, and how long you bled out will factor into your respawn delay. So if you waited the entire bleed out time for a revive that never came, you won't also spend the full 10 seconds or so in squad or overview deployment screen. When it comes to ground vehicles, DICE is adding light tanks to the final game. The open beta only featured medium and heavy tanks, which are designed less for infantry combat and more for anti-vehicle engagements. The medium tank can be specialized to be more effective against infantry, but light tanks are purpose-built for that role. Systemic vehicle damage was only partially implemented during the open beta. The full game, like Battlefield 1, will feature turret and engine disabling mechanics. But unlike Battlefield 1, you won't become a sitting duck once something becomes disabled. You'll still have a little bit of movement. Airplanes, which were particularly weak in the open beta, are getting a bit of a buff both to damage, maneuverability, and spotting functionality. Footage during the dev talk shows more images from the Devastation map, Twisted Steel Hamada, and Fiel 652, some of which shows off the systemic damage and light tanks that were not present in the alphas or betas. They also show a demonstration of an airstrip with a plane taking off from it, which is pretty cool. People were wondering if taking off and landing would come back as a feature. When it comes to Battlefield 1, the game went on sale for an insanely low price of $5, and DICE gave away for a limited time the premium upgrade. So for $5 you could have gotten the whole Battlefield 1 package. This not only boosted the overall Battlefield 1 player base, but boosted the PC player base so high that it hadn't actually been that high since about 3 months after launch. NVIDIA's next generation of GPUs, the RTX 2000 series, has launched. The cards offer about a 30 to 35% performance improvement over the previous generation cards, but they are marked at a significantly higher price point. Unfortunately, their biggest feature, ray tracing and AI-accelerated anti-aliasing, are not supported by any games at the moment. So basically, the whole RTX part of these RTX cards just isn't testable. Overall, the launch could be seen as relatively disappointing for budget-conscious consumers or people who are looking forward to trying out some new ray tracing technology. That said, we're still waiting on the mid-tier RTX 2700 card to launch, which should offer some performance gains over the previous generation GTX 1070 at roughly the same price point. In other hardware news, Sony is jumping on the retro console bandwagon. They're releasing the PlayStation Classic for $100 on December 3rd. Pre-orders are available but are currently sold out. The mini retro console includes 20 PlayStation 1 games and 2 wired controllers. If the PlayStation Classic can be modded like Nintendo's NES and SNES mini consoles, it could be pretty huge for fans of the original PlayStation. Emulation of those games has been possible and widely accessible for years, but still requires a PC. The 1,000-player Battle Royale game Mavericks Proving Grounds has been delayed again. The game's pre-order, backer beta, was supposed to launch this past Thursday, but the devs announced it was being pushed back to November 29th, just 2 days before the game's launch. This is the game's second major delay. The studio CEO did a Reddit AMA to answer questions on Thursday. In it, he stressed that the delay was mostly down to the fact that the tools needed to analyze players' data wasn't ready and that the November release date is still firm. Hopefully this means that we'll actually get to play Mavericks sometime soon. This is a bit concerning because the alleged capabilities of this game are huge, and not letting players see it until pretty much right when the game launches might be an indicator that perhaps things are not going as well as they hoped they would on the back end. Free-to-play Battle Royale shooter Ring of Elysium launched this week in America, but has been delayed in Europe. The game features weather mechanics and snowboarding as a means of transportation. Otherwise, it's pretty typical for the genre. It should be available in Europe in the next 4 weeks. That said, European players can play the game, just not on servers in their region. Red Dead Online, the multiplayer mode for Red Dead Redemption 2, is now scheduled to launch as a public beta in November, following the game's October 26th release. Players familiar with GTA Online and the original game's multiplayer should feel right at home in Red Dead Online. It'll offer co-op, PvP, narrative-driven missions, and more. Anyone that owns the game will get access to the public beta. Once they fine-tune the game, it's likely the mode will release in full before the end of the year. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 timed exclusive deal with Sony has been confirmed. It includes both free and paid DLC content coming post-launch. Treyarch announced a new version of the Nuketown map and a new specialist would be added to the game for free after launch. They've now confirmed that PS4 owners will get that content and all the additional DLC 7 days before Xbox One and PC players. This is a big improvement over the 30-day delay we've seen with previous games, but it is still timed exclusive content for one system, which, kind of generally pisses off the other 2/3 of the player base. Hitman II finally has a release date. The follow-up to the highly rated 2016 game will release on November 13th on all platforms. Instead of releasing as an episodic game like the 2016's Hitman, the sequel will release all at once with an expansion pass for future DLC. Fortnite's 6th season begins on September 27th. According to leaks, it'll add the game's first snow biome called Slippery Slopes. It'll launch with a battle pass that features unique skins and other cosmetic items. A new mode for Destiny 2's PvP Crucible launches next week. Called Breakthrough, players will fight to capture a central point. The team that captures the point must then deploy the Breaker, which hacks the other team's vault. Once the vault is hacked, the round ends. The first team to win 3 rounds wins the match. It's similar to the game's existing countdown mode, but with respawning and only one objective in play at a time. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. Let me know what you thought was the most interesting story in the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.